really made you convinced that STRADE marketplace is going to disrupt airline industry?
I think what we saw very early is that in order to be successful, you need to have the credibility, the quality, and also the right information. And the credibility we have from our heritage. So we are an industry player, we know exactly what it requires to do this job. We're also ourselves active in the market as purchasers. We needed the quality, that is their certifications, that is also the certificates of the parts. We need to really demonstrate that we know what these parts are. But in the end, to make it a successful marketplace, so far I've just described what it takes to be successful in the market. But to have a successful marketplace, also the product needs to be transparent. What people love most about the product is that they can immediately transact because they see the price transparently and they also know whether we have the part or not. So we're not ghosting any parts. We have full transparency on the actual price point, we have full transparency on the availability and even on the paperwork of the parts.
What was the feedback from the buyers who onboarded the marketplace? Do you have the impression that we did hit the right balance?
Surprisingly positive. So I had expected more resistance, knowing you have some, I think, preconception around the traditional industry, and it's also, you asked it in your question, the industry is traditional, and that is true. But the industry comprises of hundreds of thousands of individual people that all have their own private experiences. And I think because they could all relate to something they see now, that they also know from everyday usage themselves in their private lives, it went surprisingly easy. So we had expected that it would be difficult for them to change existing ways of working and interacting with us, but they saw the benefits, they saw the transparency that we provide. So the feedback has been incredibly positive, and the adoption as well, very fast and much faster than we expected. But I'm also curious, I mean, that is our view on how this whole process went, but how's it on your end? I mean,
I would agree from perspective of outcomes. I think we have achieved the outcome that we wanted to. And it has been really very interesting experience for us. So from Symphony team perspective, we entered this journey with know-how from technology side and also experience from other marketplaces, but we lacked a lot of industry knowledge. So we entered completely new domain, market unknown to us, and you really need to understand the market well, to understand the problems that you want to solve before jumping into solution. And thanks to the industry experience that you brought, I think we managed to really figure out what problems we want to solve and together to figure out how to do it in the best possible way. And I would say that we are still on a good path.
As an entrepreneur, you really needed to manage and drive your organization and navigate between the digital innovation on one side and managing like a organization which operates in very risk-adverse industry. And the question is more towards like, what is the success?
To navigate that tension successfully internally, you need to find the right balance in being at the forefront of things while respecting where you come from. So we needed to understand that we can push the boundaries, but we cannot go beyond certain thresholds. So it still needs to be acceptable. It needs to be acceptable for our customers in the industry, but also for a shareholder. I think that's super important. To do that successfully, we knew from the beginning that we needed to do that by establishing a different brand. So be able to go to the outside world with a different look and feel, showing that this is different than what we used to do. We needed to do it as well by separating ourselves from the mothership, by severing our ties on things as boring as IT systems and legal entity structures, to make sure that we can also operate to a certain extent independently, but deeply rooted in the heritage of the company that we're part of. And it is in that balance, I think, that we have been successful in navigating that by both pushing it without going too far, without making things break.
Symphony kind of came with the idea of building a digital product and the product management principles and processes and everything else. How did that approach fit into your vision of what you want to build, but also into your mindset of an entrepreneur?
I think what we realized, and that was why the partnership with Symphony was so important to us and so meaningful to us, is that we lacked any experience in the digital field. So we had the industry experience, we had the personal experience of working with marketplaces, but no experience of building a tech product at all. And I think the essence of the partnership with Symphony for us has been that from day one, when we're talking about a blueprint, we were really just trying to sketch out together what could this product look like and what does this product need to be successful. And then when we went further, you not only delivered on the development of that product, but also the discovery around what it needs to comprise of to be successful. And so I think that as an entrepreneur, when you're trying to shape this vision, knowing once again where you come from and where you want to go, Symphony has been a real partner in going along that way, both on trying to figure out what that industry is. Amala, you were referring to it before, saying we need to understand your industry, but also bring in the expertise of what it is to build a marketplace like this. So I think that the power of the partnership has been the understanding, market understanding, the discovery, as well as the development. I'm really curious to understand how it is on your end, working with an entrepreneur rather than with either a large corporate or a startup.
Yeah, so you're right. Traditionally, we have been working with startups also at various stages of their maturity, right? We also work with the enterprises, and in that sense, with various types of stakeholders, right? So we work with entrepreneurs. We also work with corporate people and professionals, and we also work with seasoned professionals, usually coming from consulting agencies or from third-party companies, right? And in that sense, working with such companies usually assumes also that they appoint roles such as Chief Technology Officer or Chief Product Officer, and those are the roles that we are mostly exposed to, and those are the key stakeholders that we usually work with. With STRADE, when we started working, it was really CEO and managing director and the CFO, the key stakeholders that we actually were engaged with. And to us, it was a different perspective, because all of a sudden we found ourselves in the earliest possible stage of product development, but there was only a vision and kind of North Star and direction in which we really need to go. So naturally for Symphony, this was something that we wanted to get to, and there was the opportunity to actually, try to see how that world really functions. And at the same time, that triggered us to actually start thinking and positioning ourselves also as co-owners of the idea, so that we really needed to contribute in a very innovative way in order to support you in building this product.
Probably not always been easy for you. What was the most difficult in working with us?
I would say the hardest part for us was actually being able to communicate and get aligned on what we had as our way of working, I would say, in building digital product versus, and then following really, your vision, which is probably at very high level of thinking and everything else, like looking far beyond and what needs to happen, right? And us really executing on that. So bridging the gap between the vision and what needs to happen on a daily basis to get to that vision, and managing that gap in the right way to ensure that we actually get to it at one point in time. I think that was the key challenge that we, I believe, successfully overcame as well.
I like the word you used, co-owner. I think that is really, at least to us as well, how it felt. I think I've seen it very strongly in the way that our teams have collaborated. I think you've been very patient with us and coaching us and guiding us along the way. But also for us, I mean, it was a very interesting journey because all of this, the terminology is different, the way of working is different, the mindset of people is different. But what I think that really brought us together is where I feel that we connected most, is that the values of our two companies are very similar. So our core values are around extreme drive. We're always real, so you just hear us say what we think, but also constant learning, and we operate as one team. And I think all of that I've seen reflected in the partnership with you. So the constant learning, I think you already attested to, like new industry, new ways of working, but also that really going about it as one team, what you just said about being co-owners, that resonates strongly.
How do you see the next steps of the airline industry? How do you envision the future of this market?
The aviation industry has, I think, three massive challenges ahead of itself. Sustainability is a very obvious one, but a very deep one. It's important that the industry finds ways to enable global travel in a more sustainable way. I think as well, the pressure on cost will always remain there. It's very related as well to sustainability. So the industry always has been operating very cost efficiently, but needs to continue to find ways to do so and do more of that. And the last thing is as well the people and know-how gap. So attracting talent and retaining talent. And after the global pandemic as well, doing that with a less experienced workforce is becoming increasingly difficult. And those three are interrelated. So we need solutions that are sustainable to attract people that also find that important, that have these values at core. We need to find ways to be cost efficient. Technology plays a large role in that. It's what we strongly believe in, to make sure that people can also make decisions easy. That helps as well with bringing in people on board that do not have the experience. So we need to provide them with the tools to be able to make the right decisions fast and in a sustainable manner. You also said you need flexibility to tailor to the needs of your client. In which way have you deviated from the standard script with us? Where did we need more attention, where less?
Okay. I said we in generally need to be flexible, and this model is very flexible to accommodate to various levels of clients. So obviously, our understanding of STRADE is traditional industry, traditional organization, working mostly on the emails, phones, supporting ERP or CRM system, but not like the core digital product that actually enables the business, right? So in that sense, and obviously with the organization that you had with only CEO and managing director at the leadership roles, and then SMEs, how we like to call, right, subject matter experts within the organization who know the processes and everything else. What we learned very early in the processes that we needed to bring to STRADE the idea of how digital product lives, how it is created, how you nurture it, how you then build on it, how to implement the feedback back, to ensure basically that the product that is built, that we launch, will land at the market and be eventually accepted. So we really needed to guide you through the process of learning how to build a product.
You said about different approaches and flexibility towards your client, in particular the ones that don't have experience with digital product development. I vividly recall that you actually launched something called Agile 101 as kind of an educational session for us. How was that experience for you? Something new?
I think this is the question that I actually should have asked you, how it resonated on your end. For us, again, it is about the flexibility, right? So we really, throughout the engagement, especially in those early stages, and there is this famous term that we created then, it's called drunken walk, right? We really needed to understand how we can walk together on this journey, right? And along that path, we understood how comfortable you are with certain things in the process and how comfortable or how not comfortable you are with certain things, right? So at that point in time, we realized it is a good moment before we start the actual development. So to basically already explain and tell you what is going to come in terms of the process and everything else. We really wanted to bring this topic closer to you.
Yeah, I think that resonates. When you ask me, like, how does the Agile 101 session reflect or sit with us? And I think that's one of the things that I admire is how you've constantly tried to amend your toolkit and your style, your approach of us to get the best outcome. I think that has been very positive in the whole collaboration that we had. Is that we've constantly, in a very constructive and open way, been looking for where do we have blockers, how do we overcome them, but also where do we need to learn new ways of working, but also where do you have to adapt your default routines that you are used to with other clients to best accommodate our needs.
How did you decide to place trust in Symphony the first time and then every time after that, ultimately coming to understanding and feeling and believing that we are really 100% with you on this journey?
To a large extent, every partnership is a leap of faith. So you can only trust up front so much. But what you can do, and what we also have done together, is to define tangible deliverables so that we can also see that the trust is earned. And I think that is what you have consistently proven. So we've been able to break it down in first doing a blueprint phase with you. Then we did a product design phase. And along that way, seeing that you share the same passion that we have and that we collaborated as one team towards the same vision has really encouraged us to continue to place trust in you. And I think aligning on values, the fact that the same drive, the same ambition and the same eagerness to learn and to continuously develop is something that both of our companies share, has built and shaped that trust over the entire project. And then when the results are there, and the results are better than you expect, the adoption is there, the product market fit is there, it is just reinforcing. And that is the way I think trust is built over time.
Okay, so from your experience, what are the most critical factors that drive the success of collaboration between company like STRADE and company like Symphony, which is like product and technology kind of vendor?
I think first and foremost, it starts with understanding the differences and the similarities and a willingness to overcome those. So I feel that it's easy to talk in stereotypes, like there's the traditional company and there's the modern, innovative product development company. But I think what was important is the symbiosis, is understanding that not because we are traditional, we're old school, and not because you're innovative, you know better, but really trying to find the best mutual way forward, aligned around the vision, and a genuine interest to understand the other side of the table, and to, instead of working as two opposites of a table, really work as one team together on the same product vision. So I think it really starts with a genuine interest to understand what the starting point of the other partner is, what their position is, what the differences are that you have, what the similarities are that you have, and find a common basis to work on that.
During the MVP development, right, before we launched, what scared you the most? What kept you awake at night?
really good question. After such a long period, you start to believe in it yourself. And I think what scared me the most was the fact that the lovely vision that we had around what this product should be, that there was actually no market for this. I think after so many months of developing and shaping a vision and working it out with your teams, with our teams, the most scary thing there is the moment that you actually go live and it really starts to come in contact with real customers. It is scary, and one of the things that I feared there most was like groupthink, or like we all invested in this idea. And what's the way to sanity check that the only thing that we could constantly go back to is, but we're also ourselves an actor in this industry. And we know what we would need to do this successfully. And we know what we think it takes to do this and what works for us. And at the very least, we know that we can digitize our own operations. And we know that it works for our processes. And if it works for ours, it must also work for others. But it was very scary because of the limited customer pool and knowing that we in this industry have to come out with something that meets certain quality criteria, we could not test it early. So it was a very long development process without real test with real customers. The benefit we had was testing it with our own people who know the industry, who are also active in this industry themselves, but it never really came in contact with real customers. No real exposure out there. And I think that was the most scary part of the whole development process. We went live in a staggered approach, so with a few customers first and then more and more customers were onboarded. And the very first responses from the customers that came in contact with the product were incredibly positive. And I think it's that feedback that really made us believe, okay, we're really onto something here. Customers love what they see, and what I think is the most encouraging is that the pieces of feedback they give us are 100% aligned with our vision. So the very first things we heard were things like, we love the transparency. I can actually see the prices. Oh, I can click all the way down to the certificate of this part. And I think that the feedback was so much in line with the product vision we had all those months before when we started this project was incredibly encouraging and proved that we were on the right way. And I think I also want to take the opportunity to say really a big thank you to you and your team. What I think has been pivotal in making this a success is the adaptability in your approach. So certain things are a given, but within that you've shown flexibility in the style that you approach to make it successful. So coming from what for you has been your traditional way of doing things, which is an agile methodology, which is fail fast, you've been able to tailor it and to accommodate us along the way to also meet our needs. And I think that has been really the key in the success of this collaboration. That you haven't been rigid in your approach, but that you have been able to stick to your principles and to your beliefs, but adjusting it to our needs and also learning from what we brought in and adapting to make that the best fit possible and the best outcome possible.
Appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much.